will still experience this boycott of their sessions in court. But when we see such actions from LSK, from the Law Society, it means something is not working, because ideally the Judicial Service Commission should have been able to handle these things. And we were trying to examine if at all that's where the problem is, that Chapter 15 commissions in Kenya are simply not working, that everything appears to have come to a halt and people are opting for alternative ways to just express their displeasure or dissatisfaction. Do you agree that there's a failure or there's a huge tear when it comes to such commissions like the JSC?
Yeah, I'll answer that, but let me start from the point that LSK and lawyers who are involved in the boycott are raising fundamental issues on access to justice. And you see, every Kenyan should be free to be able to go to court to get his or her dispute litigated impartially and in time. The challenge has been the delays, the backlogs, the relationship between the litigants, including lawyers, and the judicial officers, and then corruption, and that's a reality. Yeah, so to the extent of resolving the issues that are affecting court, I support a raising of the issues and finding a solutions. The challenge I have is blanketly joining this boycott. And I need to let you know that from here, I'm going to court. And then I'm going to court because I have clients who have matters that need the attention of the judicial officers. The question as a lawyer is when LSK calls for a boycott against a judicial officer, but that judicial officer is dealing with a matter. For instance, one of the matters that I'm dealing with is the fact that the county government of Kisumu has failed to light up the city, and the city is dark. And we noting that there's a constitutional duty, so I've gone to court. And then LSK tells me that even though the residents of Kisumu are dying of robbery with violence, and being killed and robbed, I should suspend that, awaiting, Judicial Service Commission's removal of this judicial officer. My view is that the boycott should be the last. It is one of the instruments that LSK can use, but it should be the last. Mm-hmm. Have we exhausted all the options? Okay, all over the world, law societies all over the world are vigorously engaged with their partners, which is the judiciary, to try and resolve the problems that are facing access to justice. But then there are very many instruments they have. LSK has a representation, not one, but two, in the Judicial Service Commission. Mm-hmm. So when the Judicial Service Commission takes a decision, it is not, it is a decision that must be owned by LSK. But it is not only the LSK, we have very many other stakeholders. So Judicial Service Commission remains the first door to knock. Okay, then we should be asking ourselves, are we properly represented in the Judicial Service Commission? Mm-hmm. I know that we have variable representation in Judicial Service Commission. Then we have the option of litigating these issues. Okay, and we have the options of sitting down. We have the court users committees. We have the forums where the LSK sits with other stakeholders in access to justice. I think we should explore that. And then boycott comes at the last minute. Mm-hmm. Then you ask a question. Have the commissions failed? I think I've answered part of it by saying that, unlike previously when we had no stakeholder representation in forums that could solve these problems, we do have stakeholder representation right now, and that is critical. The question is that are the representation within those bodies going back to their parent institutions and reporting? How does a lawyer in Turkana, for instance, get to engage with the representative of LSK in the Judicial Service Commission? And then some of these things that we talk about, we probably need to also ask ourselves that as advocates, have we cleaned up our house? Okay, so that even as we go out there to accuse, the other stakeholders in the judicial and in the House of Justice, in the halls of justice, are we sure that we are not participants in the maladministration? Are we sure that we are not participants in the delay of court cases through insistent,
corruption directly?
There's corruption. There is, delays in terms of adjournments. There is sharp practice and all those other issues. It is important that we also come back as a society, sit down amongst ourselves and question each other. Some of the things that, for instance, I've had my learned colleague raise have been raised against members of the bar.
Okay.
Corruption has been raised against members of the bar. There's the issue of sexual harassment. I mean, we had young advocates in the streets demonstrating against senior advocates against sexual harassment in law firms. Why is it that when it comes to those issues, LSK is not calling for stern action against senior members of our society, but we are very quick to tear down an institution?
All right.
Yeah.
This is a big conversation. Lawyers boycott disrupts court sessions. That happened yesterday. Blanket boycott of all judges and magistrates. But I'm made to understand that a number of judicial officers, a number of magistrates and judges could still experience continued boycott across the country because of these various issues: corruption, chronic delays in case determination, registry inefficiencies, discourteous treatment of advocates, and weak mechanisms for handling complaints against judicial officers. Very briefly, because we need to take a break right now.
Okay, good.